Welcome to Acropolis. While the House of Shadows controls the information in this sector, the House of Iron begins to control the Prometheum. These two gangs clash today, and the scenario, looters. Welcome back to MGM, a great place for casual gaming. Today we have the Black Shroud of House Delaque against Anarchy of House Orlock. The House of Shadows currently sits at 1-1 and the House of Iron at 2-0. Both of these gangs will be fighting to remain in the top tier heading into downtime. Now, before we get into the gangs, I just want to take a quick break to let you know that this battle report doesn't necessarily go as planned. But in playing Necromunda, it is a very unpredictable game. You can see from the length of this video, it is going to be a short battle report. The previous one we had, I thought, was one of the best ones that we've done, and this one just did not turn out so well. I take a lot of time to set up the terrain, paying attention to the small details to really make the battle report pop, and sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Regardless, I approach things the exact same way every time, and in this particular game, I probably spent longer setting the terrain up and taking it down versus actually playing the game. It happens, but while what you see is edited, it is raw, and I'm not going to manufacture dice rolls or do things that didn't happen for the sake of making a better battle report. What you see is what happened on the table. So thanks so much for watching, and with that, we'll get into the gangs. The Black Shroud is led by Crypto, Master of Shadow. With 75 credits, they elect to bank them and depart with their full roster worth 1,000 credits. Over for House Orlock, Anarchy is led by Road Captain Big John. With 105 credits to spend, the Arms Master Forge acquires a Cyber Mastiff, because why not? With a Ganger in recovery, they depart with 7 fighters worth 1,020 credits. Today's scenario is Looters from the 2018 rulebook. House Orlock will be our attacker today. The battlefield will be standard. House Orlock will get all of their fighters, and House Delaque will get random D3 plus 4 reinforcements. They roll up for 5 starters on the board and get Crypto, Vex, Hack, Virus, and Switch. They will have home turf advantage in this one, rolling 2d6 for bottle test and discarding the highest, and rally test will be +1. Tactics cards will be custom 2 for House Orlock and random 2 for House Delaque. Since the starting crew for House Delaque is 685 compared to House Orlock's 1095, House Delaque will get 4 random underdog cards. House Orlock selects Down But Not Out and Showboating. House Delaque gets Eyes in the Dark, Whisperer, Shifting Shadows, Sightblind Traps, Mass Infiltration, and Darkness Descends. In deployment, House Delaque will place 4 loot caskets anywhere and deploy their crew within 3 inches of any loot casket. House Orlock will pick a battlefield edge to be the escape route and set their crew up within 6 inches of that edge. House Orlock will be attempting to secure the 4 loot caskets and move them off via the escape route. They count as claimed if they come within 1 inch of their board edge by the start of the end phase. House Orlock will claim victory if they can claim more loot caskets than there are left on the board. Otherwise, House Delaque will claim victory today. Victory can also go to the last gang standing. As we look forward to turn 1, there are several tactics cards that are playing, Mass Infiltration being one for House Delaque, so some of their fighters do not have to deploy next to the loot caskets. They also used Whisperer, making Vex the Knocked Ghoul a Psyker. He will take Terrible Truths with him, which can cause insanity. As we gear up for turn 1, House Delaque is going to take the priority, and they will immediately place Sightblind Traps instead of activating a fighter. This will allow them to place a trap within 2 inches of a fighter, and we will move over to House Orlock for their activation. And House Orlock begins by sending Tito forward. He is going to attempt to fire his auto gun. He'll be targeting Hack, the Ghost Specialist, who just laid that trap. He ends up missing the shot, and Hack is immediately going to retaliate with a web weapon. The firepower is good. He wounds at strength 5 and webs Tito. He then uses his second action to scoot back into cover. House Orlock sends Dusty forward with his plasma gun up the ladder, takes a shot. Short range with plasma gun makes it a 2, but partial cover makes it a 3. That shot is going to miss. That move draws a reaction from Virus, who is going to move with his autogun. Take a shot down. He is going to have him in the open. Ballistic skill of 4 is good. Rapid fire 2 requires force to wound. There is a wound. He does go down pinned. The armor save is going to be failed, and an injury die is rolled out here. It is a flesh wound. We move back to House Orlock. They will send Juice forward with a move. Has a shotgun on him. He is just going to stay out of line of sight for now. Up top, Switch is going to activate. He is just going to turn to face, move, staying in cover. The House of Iron then activates the gunner Saul. He is going to use both of his actions to move, staying out of line of sight. These moves will not give Crypto, who has a plasma gun up top, any shots, so he is just going to move and pass. With House Delaque out of activations, the Greenhorn Chip is going to make a move, and he will be followed by the leader Big John. The Arms Master Forge will activate, his Cyber Mastiff taking the lead, with Forge right behind him. Turn 1 comes to a close. House Orlock taking a few hits there. They do have a fighter that took a flesh wound, another that is webbed, and in rolling up for him in the end phase, he will stay webbed. House Delaque rolls up for reinforcements, and Syntax will make his way onto the board. He will be able to be placed by the Delaque player. We do see reinforcements for House Delaque entering the board, and we will roll up for priority for turn 2. It'll be going over to House Orlock. And up first, the Cyber Mastiff is going to attempt to charge into Hack, rolls up short, and he is going to check up short. He is going to detonate that trap. We do roll a cool check for the Mastiff, and that's good. We then roll up to see if this trap is real, and it is. That 4+ means that we're going to treat this as a frag trap. It does go off at strength 3. It does wound the pup and take him out of action. Forge then quickly uses both of his actions to move. As we move to House Delaque, Hack is going to be moving right behind him. Going to attempt to fire his web gun again. He is going to get a hit here with the template weapon, and this is strength 5, so needs 3s to wound. And with that wound successful, Forge is now webbed as well. Back over to Anarchy, Dusty with his plasma gun will use his first action to get to his feet. His second will be to fire his plasma gun at Virus. Short range and partial cover, making this a 3 to connect with the target. He lands a hit. Ammo check is going to be required. We're needing a 5 up, and that will be passed. At strength 5, the roll to wound does fail, rolling up a 1. He will take an initiative check for being close to the ledge, and that initiative check will be failed. He will plummet to the floor. A strength 3 hit ends up wounding him. He does take a save, which fails, so an injury die is rolled out for him, and it's an out of action. So while the plasma gun does nothing, the fall has knocked him out cold. Switch returns fire, but finds out he's out of range, just rolls a firepower dice, and it is good. We've then got the Greenhorn Chip on the move, using both of his actions to move, and from across the way, Crypto, he is going to move and attempt to fire his plasma gun. He normally hits on a 3, but on a roll of 1, that shot is going to miss, regardless of any modifiers. House Orlock is going to play down but not out, which allows them to take a seriously injured fighter, and because he is webbed, he is treated as seriously injured. It allows them to take a flesh wound and become standing and active, where they can make 1 action. With that, Tito will get to his feet, fire his autogun at Hack, short range, gets him a +1, so just needs 3s. He does get a hit, rapid fire. Strength 3 needs 4s to wound. It's 2 wounds. Mesh Armor saves requires a 5, and while 1 is stopped, 1 does go through. Injury dice coming out here, and it will be a serious injury. We do roll up for an initiative check, and that is passed. While that was going on, Syntax uses an action to move and open the door, while Big John moves forward with his plasma gun, and he is going to attempt to take a shot at Switch. Big John hits on a 3, and that's all that's needed here. He is going to land a hit rapid fire. He will need to take a 5-up ammo check, which has failed. Shot still goes through at strength 5, 3s to wound, which is good. AP1 cuts through any armor, and 2 injury dice come out. It's a serious injury. We then take an initiative check. He does get a +1 for the railing, and he is going to fail, and he is going to plummet down to the bottom as well, taking a strength 3 hit. That is going to do a wound, and another injury die is a serious injury. That's 2 flesh wounds. So a catastrophic set of circumstances for House Delaque as 2 of their fighters have plummeted to the ground level. We do see Saul moving forward, and then on the other side for House Orlock, they control the rest of the activations. We've got Juice moving forward as well. As turn 2 comes to a close, we do have a lot to roll for in this one. First up, bottle checks for House Delaque. House Orlock still not in the position to where they can fail. Home turf advantage is 2d6, discarding the highest. There are 3 fighters down or out for House Delaque. It's a 6. They are going to bottle. Recovery rolls for House Delaque. Switch is going to go out of action, and he is going to roll up for out cold. We also have a recovery roll to take for Hack, and he is going to stay down, taking a flesh wound. We do roll up for Forge, who is down webbed, and he will become unwebbed, taking a flesh wound. We then roll up for Priority. It goes to House Delaque. Sync and Nano are able to make their way onto the board from reserves. They're able to be placed by the Delaque player, and we do have some strategies going into effect now. The Noctghouls springing up from the shadows. Darkness Descends is played as a pre-planned signal cuts the lights. A Noctghoul and Sync appear on the backboard, while another Noctghoul appears just to the left of them, ready to go up the stairs and try to prevent House Orlock from escaping. House Delaque will need to take cool checks in this one. Crypto is going to pass. We move over to the Noctghouls, and we do have one that fails. That is the Psyker for this game, Vex. He is off the board. We roll up for the other Noctghoul, which is Nano. These guys have a cool of 6, but Nano is going to fail as well, and he is off the board. We roll up for Sync as well, who passes, but we do roll up for Syntax, who is going to fail. So the majority of the House Delaque fighters made it onto the board and quickly turned tail and ran. It was at this moment that my opponent and I decided to shake and call it a day. He let me make it out with the rest of my fighters in the pitch black darkness. So with that comes the end of episode 15. House Orlock will take a victory here and continue undefeated at 3-0, while House Delaque is going to fall to 1-2. We got the post-game report coming right up. Alright, and the post-game wrap-up for this one, it just didn't turn out how I expected it to, and I had alluded to this at the beginning of the video. House Delaque just really got unlucky there with Virus dodging that plasma shot and then falling to go out of action. And then it was followed up with Switch doing the exact same thing, where he got seriously injured, he rolled a 1 on initiative, plummeted down, and that ended up taking him out of action as well. It was an early bottle for the defenders, House Delaque, and they only started with 5 fighters, so you were at risk of bottling since the very beginning of the game. It's kind of what it is when you play Necromunda. Necromunda is not a balanced game, and if you play it like we do, it's purely for narrative purposes. Although it is kind of a bummer sometimes when I take so much time and care setting up the battlefield to have something like this happen. We still had fun, of course, it's just not as enjoyable for you, the viewer. Overall, my plan for House Delaque was to place those crates upstairs, which I did, and try to force House Orlock to take the ladders and things like that while I tried to get shots down on them, and it just really did not go to plan. Instead of springing those Noctghouls in on turn 2, I decided to wait until turn 3, which was a big mistake on my part. I just didn't want to put them in so early where they got mowed down like they did in the first game. House Orlock will obviously take home 50 credits for their efforts here today, while House Delaque will get 25. There were no real injuries to note, so both of these gangs will be at full strength for their next one. As for House Orlock and purchasing the Cybermastiff, I'll probably get some comments about that, but I've got the model painted up, I've yet to use it, and I really just want to see some dogs and exotic beasts in the game. The MVP in this game is going to go to Dusty with his plasma gun, as he was able to take that Delaque ganger down with the plasma shot. While it didn't connect, it did cause him to stumble enough to fall off the edge, take him out of action, and that just led to a sequence of events that would be an eventual Orlock victory. I still hope the game was enjoyable for you. A big thank you to the Supporters Club. Your names are on the screen now, whether you're a channel member or a coffee donator. If you'd like any information on that, links are down in the description. It's by no means necessary. Quite frankly, if you've watched the video this far, you've done more than enough to support the channel, so thanks so much. And we will see you in the next one. Take care.